Hello, everyone. It's been a while. I've been a bit sick, but I'm feeling better. So today I'm gonna make a video about lolbas, right? And like malware development. Why sometimes like EDRs and systems like that fail, and how malware developers use tools on your own computer. They don't need to program anything. They can use literally programs on most common Windows systems. It's called lolbas, right? So it can be done either it can be used for malware, or if you're actively in the person's computer, right, and you want to try and hack the network without being discovered, then you'll like run these commands like once a month or twice a month, which is what hackers usually do. They don't run regular scans. What they do is it's called living off land. You're using tools on phone systems of the people you've compromised to compromise them further. Like they'll have access to a guy's camera, for example, or see, not just that, always just like see when a person's working, right? And when the PC's on and at the work, for example, one of the PCs, they log into that user's PC's access to, they log into it, and while he's logged into it, right, what he'll do is first it'll run commands like netstat, or cert. He'll use like a built-in Windows tool which someone didn't remove. He'll check for commands once in a while, try to find something like, because netstat, you can try to get a layout of some idea of what the network is, for example. So as you can see here is some binaries and tools built into Windows. Hackers actually use to, infect, build malware, gain further access. So it's a download, right? So this is like for certificates installation. And what hackers will do is like, if they want to download and save a certificate, they can run this command, for example. And it'll save a file to a system EDC. Like, they don't even need to access the browser. If they've got, like, they don't need the browser to download it. So it'll download and we can download in the background. Or like, say they have RDP or something like that, and the user on the system does not have access to a browser or normal internet access, or like similar circumstances like that, or they want to download something, but they don't want it to be suspicious via a network, or like try to hide what we're doing, more or less, like make it seem like it's a Windows process. They'll run this to download it. They can also download and execute the file, right? So you can download maybe a scanner that's like just scans the network slowly over time, and when it does, it creates a text file on your temp folder, or a cycle bin, app data, Windows C, documents just hidden, or like it might generate a file, right, with a name that's just a bunch of strings, no net file extension, but it's actually just a txt, stuff like that. Because if you make a file, for example, let's say uh, logs.bin, but it's not a bin file, and when we try to open as a bin file, it won't work. And what you could do to make it even better, right, you can clear the metadata of your file that's created, so that when you create this file and it says the bin, but as soon as the bin will check what file type it is, and it'll say that bin. You can make it so it doesn't say what file type it is, but you can just still open it. It's really good. I've got lots of commands, right? Like, for example, it's like stuff you can do with CMD. Everyone knows CMD, right? There's lots of tools here. Disk shadow for like copying, dumping information, executing exes. And if one doesn't work, you can just go through all of them one by one slowly over time. And it's important not to rush it and try every command, because like eventually people will notice stuff, right? Because some people have antivirus and seam logs, and they'll see a bunch of Windows tools trying to execute a file that's downloaded. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about on lolbas side. I'm gonna show you some examples of living off a LAN commands. But before I do that, I can also show you like I've made a sample malware, right? So, for example, what this does is, right, it's just a bat script which just downloads and executes malware for people, or like if you run it, for example. But it's not actually working, so it's safe to view. So basically, you just hardcode the path, right, the exe file, and you can set you set as defaults, right, when you're running it on actual environment. And when what it does, it checks if one of these paths exists, right? Because these are two different tools which run exes. So if this one doesn't exist, it fails over to this one. Yeah, see, it's really simple stuff. And then it'll initialize set these flags, so like if like it's for later for like if an if statement in the code, or like like a basic if statement. So it'll see is the application running found. If not found, it'll try the second one. If none are found, nothing will happen. So if none of them are found, it doesn't do anything. And there's like 10-second sleeps, right, between the command. Because a lot of what malware developers do will add random sleep times or delays and jitter, random commands, useless code and functionality. And I can bet you now, if I download this, it might not be completely detected. We can see in test if, well, I think we should see in test, right? See if this is detected. A malware executor, this isn't obfuscated, right? This isn't even obfuscated, this tool. Let's think about it. Okay, so right now I've added it. I'm going to scan on virus total. Let's see how many detections we get. Right, we can also run this in a hybrid analysis just to prove a point. Right, Fortinet undetected, Google undetected, Alibaba Cloud, ClamAV, Fortinet. Let's see what else we get undetected. I wonder if CrowdStrike's your guess. Persky, MaxSecure, QuickHeal, Symantec, Chat Micro. Zero detections, right? Zero detection. This is what you use to bypass. Like it's meant to execute EXEs, right? It's meant for executing and running EXEs, like if you don't have permission or like you don't want people to notice that you're running something, right? It's meant to be stealthy. This is living off land, like just imagine, like if you combine the download tool, I would to combine that download tool, which then downloads it, then it just waits a bit, like a few minutes, then runs it, right? Simple. Another thing, there's a bunch of things you can do. You can buy best bypasses for that, like user access, like you don't have enough privileges and stuff like that. There's previous escalation ones. There's a bunch of different stuff, right? There's even drivers, right? You can check for a list of drivers, but a good way to do that would be to base64 encode the list of every driver, right? The names, just base64 encode all of them, right? And then decode it with lolbas, like these tools. And then one by one check the decoded version, right? And then do it over time, not every day. Once a day, you do a check for a driver. Once a day, once a day, until you find a lol driver. Lol driver. I'll show you now what a lol driver is. It's amazing. So lol drivers are Windows drivers, right, on your system, which hackers use to bypass security, privilege escalation, different stuff, right? They're publicly listed ones, which you can look for. Like maybe someone's system on the network has one of these drivers, and they give you different abilities and different stuff you can do with them, right? So like a vulnerable driver like this one, for example, 2023, and when you can see what to do, kernel level commands and stuff like that. You can evaluate privileges. Privileges is kernel level. It's literally like the highest level you can get in the system. It's like, well, I think it's, but yeah, wait, yeah, I think it's almost the highest. Should probably, yeah, it's probably highest. Like, there's no, I don't think it's higher than kernel because kernel's below applications, below everything. Like, it's the system itself, and we all have different privilege levels, right? So, for example, okay, this one's kernel. Well, no, wait, sorry, I'm stupid. They're probably all going to be kernel because drivers run in the kernel layer, right? Like near a kernel layer and have kernel access. That's why you get drivers. So I'm a bit tired. Okay, so they'll all have kernel privileges and you'll be able to do basically anything on the system. 2025. Okay, not all of them, okay. Well, most of them. And okay, let's just say, yeah, okay. I'm sounding stupid. Please forgive me. Okay, so most of them have kernel access, not all of them. Okay, that's it. That's all we need to know. It's I don't really work with Java so much. And as you can see, you can kill an EDR. So if I've got CrowdStrike, you just do point it. And what you can also do is, um, You know, I just find it funny. Think about like imagine you make malware, right? Like you make a version of Mimikatz called Java w.exe, which is a sub process of Java. Which basically means it's just like it's a mini version of Java, like a sort of a sub process Java creates. So that when the SOC analysts, oh wait, let me just show you, let me show you this. When the illusion of a SOC team Googling Java W, what is it? It literally tells them it's a sub process of Java. Should I remove it? What is the difference between Java and Java W? They'll just find this when you name your malware Java W.exe. I was just thinking about this, and funny meme. But yeah, if you guys want anything, when any more information, any more like hacking tricks, if well ethical hacking tricks and like tips on pen testing and stuff, I'll make more videos. I just been sick lately, and I'm gonna make like two more videos. One is about like this. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna see screenshots, right? But I'm gonna show you some real life pen testing stuff, like interesting finds. I might do some interesting finds videos, which goes into depth of interesting stuff you can find sometimes during exploits. There's gonna be screenshots, right? Other stuff, and I'll go through and explain it. And maybe you can look for too when you do pen testing on websites and servers, because maybe like you never know if it's useful. Like people can make the same mistakes because if one person made a mistake, another person probably has made the same mistake. Yeah. And if you guys enjoy this, I just hope you like it. Like I hope you like the video. And if you need anything, just comment. I'll answer questions. I don't really mind. I like teaching people. And stay safe. Peace, man.